It's about that time, baby, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go.
The Sinclair Show is on.
It is on.
Run it to your friends, come on.
Come on, come
So this
on.
a moment of the show tonight. Mailbag is tight. Sinclair is on the mic.
Once again, it's on. You're still troubled in your home. Got your tripping, don't know right from wrong. Send your letters to the show so we can talk you through. Get the answers to your questions because we speak that truth. Sometimes you doubt yourself, lost your health. Faith is on the fence, but you believe that Jesus knows your wealth. Keep it moving, spirit flowing, because we're here to provide someone to lean on when you're falling Wednesday 8 and 9. And it's on.
Once again, it's on. You're listening to the only morning show when people at night. That's right. It is the Sinclair Show coming to you live and direct. What's going on with the volume? But first and foremost, I want to thank all of you all who continue to send your mailbag questions, comments, the whole 9 yards to sinclairtalk@outlook.com. We're going to continue to address as many as possible each night that we on the air to reach you all, because you all are the valued listeners. Y'all be talking about, well, what does that mean? That means without you all up here, I could probably be somewhere relaxing right now. But we done made an agreement over the years that we was going to hang out together at least once or twice a week. And tonight is that night. So we're going to talk about a few things. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about tonight, 2025. Y'all know it's that time of the year where half of y'all start making up these fake New Year's resolutions, lying to each other or yourselves, one of the two, talking about, I'm going to change this in my life. I'm going to be something different. I'm going to be something better. Whatever it is that we be saying that we going to do, knowing absolutely positively well, if you've been making up New Year's resolutions ever since you was a little boy or a little girl, and you ain't kept none of them, what should that tell you? They should probably tell you either stop making up fake resolutions or start picking some resolutions that fit your lifestyle. Now, I'm just saying, I'm not judging, if you will. But as old people say, it would behoove you to look at life a little bit different. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 2025, the year that was. We're going to talk about some of the outlooks for you all anyway in 26. And we're going to talk about how just the state of things, everything from, public, private, whatever. Uh-oh, y'all, let me see who's on the show. There go Detective Pamela Black right there, all up there in the purple. What's going on? Glad to see you, girl. And so, again, tonight we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to talk about all of the stuff that led us to be in the state of America that we in right now. Some of y'all going to be in your feelings, and it's all right. I'm good with that. Y'all know how sometimes you be in one of them moods that you're not really provoking some negativity, but you ain't running from it. That is one of them nights tonight. I'm not even running from the smoke. So I want to begin by talking about first and foremost, let's give there was, as many of you, depending on how long you've been around, there was a situation recently where someone in the entertainment industry, Mr. Reiner, and his wife were murdered. The allegation is that it was their son. He's been taken into custody. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to their family. And there's a lot of people who have passed. So the reason why I'm making a point about this particular murder is because it also brought out the worst and the most foolish aspect of things we've been dealing with the entire year. First and foremost, the ridiculous comment made by Donald Trump. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. We're not going to talk about it right now. But I want you guys to be cognizant of the fact that the state that we in right now is we're teetering, if you will, on some level of chaos all the time. And it's because we as a culture, and this ain't got nothing to do with what race you are. This doesn't have anything to do with gender you are. This doesn't have anything to do with your any preference that you may have one way or another. This is 100% about the thought processes that you and I and others share about what's acceptable ignorance and acceptable foolishness, none made greater than what we have experienced in 2025. Oh, they go, y'all boy James. What's up, James? Hold on, let me see if I can let the people see James. Keep what's going on, big dog. And I'm saying these things because I want you guys to take to heart that we have entered into a space where in our political government, in our local government, we have entered into a space by which we are absolutely acting the fool in everything we do. Everything's a fight. Everything's an argument. Everything is political in nature. We have dealt with so much dumb stuff in 2025 that I felt the need, I felt incumbent tonight for us to take a little review, and so you guys can relate to how simple it sounds what we've been dealing with. First part I want to talk about is something I like to call power without guardrails. Now, depending on how your mind works, if you're a political person, you will say that most people historically have believed that if you take one group, one entity, and you give them complete authority to make decisions, they will generally, no matter how good we like to think of ourselves or our affiliations or our religious groups or whatever, when uncontrolled, unfeathered, unchecked power is in place, you get the type of ignorance that we have experienced over the course of 2025. Now, that's from a political perspective. From a religious perspective, Proverbs, it says, when the righteous in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth the rule, the people mourn. What that's saying is the same thing, is that in every situation, no matter if you're political, spiritual, or otherwise, there must be a system of checks and balances to keep the absolute worst parts of society and deep, in fact, within our own selves, from overtaking our actions. America was built on a system of checks and balances. The sad part about those checks and balances is it's because we adopted a theory that there are no kings, no rulers, no presidents. Nobody would be above the law because we made an agreement with ourselves that it was laws, no matter how shaky they may be from time to time, are the thing that prevents us from going into total chaos. But what we have seen over the course of 2025 is, and I'm not picking because it's Donald Trump, because it could have been Jimmy Walker, it could have been anybody. It is the entity and the mindset and the groups that surround it. When we came into 2025, Republican parties had the Senate, the House, the office of the president, and in fact, to some degree, the United States Supreme Court. That's all phases of our government was locked into one from a leadership perspective, one dynamic of power. And what we have seen through the course of the last now 12 months is everything that had previously been put in place by both Republican and Democratic authoritative figures from a federal perspective. It took 6 months for Donald Trump and the current parties that have the majority power to run ruckshot over it. And what has it done? Well, it has allowed us to be in a situation where most of you by now, if you have a job and if that job have insurance plans, you have already seen that come January the 1st, your premiums will be about anywhere from double to triple what they normally are. You have gone into grocery stores and you have seen that something as simple as a pack of ground beef, something as simple as chicken or whatever your favorite protein has been in the past, is 3 to 4 times higher. You have seen where every aspect, your electrical bills, your water bills, the price that you pay for automobiles, the price that you pay, the wait time, all of this is because of unfeathered, unchecked, absolute power and foolishness. And all of it stems, in my opinion, from the desire to stay in power. Now, what does that mean? That means that because many of you who may be on opposite sides of the political spectrum from each other felt like, hey, I want to vote my conscience, and my conscience resides with my political affiliation, never considered the fact that your political affiliation could be hijacked by someone who had an ulterior motive that had nothing to do with your party, but had everything to do with his own financial gain and the desire to stay out of jail. And that by itself tells me the weakness of our American structure, both from an economy standpoint and from a political standpoint. You all, not just white, not just Black, not just Latino, a combination of all of you all allowed someone who you knew from the start had a secondary, if not primary motive for wanting to be in office, which was solely to prevent himself from being convicted of crimes. He had already been determined by a jury that he was guilty of lying and cheating to get money, not paying people. He has been convicted of nefarious acts from public molestation of a woman, to which he was required to pay. He has tested our judicial system because every inch of him being found guilty, he turned around and kept pushing the limits to get to a Supreme Court by which it has been stacked. And because the Supreme Court no longer has the will to act unilaterally based on the laws, they have acted in concert, setting new precedents. And I just want to say this as a matter of principle. Well, if it ain't Selena Harrell, how you doing? Glad to see you. And I want to say this as a matter of principle to my Republican counterparts. As many of you know, I'm an independent, so I reserve the right to speak freely when either major party is acting a fool. But let me remind you all in the Republican Party, to whom I have some acquaintances in that party, it is funny today as you all see yourselves navigating one foolish act from the next that Donald Trump is doing, and looking at the spectrum that is and the precedents that has been created by you all and also by the Supreme Court, because at some point it won't be Donald Trump. At some point it very well won't be the Republican Party. At some point it may very well be someone foolish in the Democratic Party who will now know without any doubt that he or she has the authority based on the precedents set by the Supreme Court and both political parties to date to do whatever they want, no matter if it is legal or illegal. So look at where we are. Now, think about what we've seen. The year started off with elites and double standards. It came in, they were talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein's been dead for a few years. Everybody's been trying to get to the bottom of who was all of his cohorts in this child molestation, in this taking women and putting them in an imprisoned situation. And we have heard names like, Bill Clinton. We've heard names like certainly Donald Trump and Prince and Kings and all this other stuff. But let me tell you where the fundamental problem comes. It's not just with the people who are alleged to have participated. It's look at how many of your senators, how many of your congressmen and women, how many people sitting on the Supreme Court have blatantly and willfully joined the level of corruption by creating reasons why you wouldn't want. What logical reason could you have for saying, I don't want to out child molesters, men who are alleged to have raped women, pedophiles? What would make you not want to out them unless you either know somebody who did it, participated, or was there willfully watching when it took place? And I am fundamentally, and I want to say this with a level of sincerity, I am fundamentally disappointed in you all that are women. It burns me to my core that you voted for this dude who you knew, even if you didn't believe everything you've heard. You knew for a fact that he's been convicted of certain things. You've heard him say out of his own mouth that he could do anything he wanted to do to a woman and nobody would do anything about it. And he didn't get 77 million men's votes. It was a combination. It's not just male senators and male congressmen that have voted to keep these hush things happening. 2025 has shown us that we have absolutely gone to a space where we will accept anything happening to anybody as long as it allows us to stay in power. And we should all be ashamed. All of us should be ashamed. I don't care whether it's at your job, in your personal life, in your political life, in your spiritual life. If you have reduced yourself to knowing what your price is, to turn a blind eye to things that you know are not right. What do you say to 1,000 or more women who have been bold enough to come forward and say that they were physically assaulted, emotionally assaulted by multiple people, men of power and women, because Ghislaine Maxwell was a contributor, a participant, as well as probably others. And some people you will hear me say alleged, others you will hear me say specifically, because our system says if you have been convicted, I don't have to say alleged. Now, because I don't want to wind up in somebody's courtroom asking y'all to send me a few dollars because I'm teetering on legal challenges, then if somebody has not been convicted of something, I must use the phrase alleged. Okay? Think about it. This whole entire year in headlines has been about the most ridiculous crimes ever, the most heinous acts. We spent the first 2 or 3 months every day watching the P. Diddy trial, to which they said Diddy was a monster, probably was, where we heard allegations of a million things. He ultimately wound up being convicted of solicitation of prostitution. Think about it. You mean to tell me, and I believe he's in the right place, he was convicted, he should be in jail. But what I don't understand is, America, you mean to tell me that you comfortable with Diddy being in jail for the acts of solicitation of prostitution and paying people to fly in and sleep with him and whatever foolish woman that wanted to be with him because how much authority and power he had and money? You good with seeing Diddy in jail. And I ain't defending him. I want to know how the same conscience can allow these individuals who are alleged to have raped and transported women for years. How does your conscience rest? How do you reconcile within your own selves to say that those 1,000+ women, you believe the 6 or 7 women that accused Diddy, and you are happy to see him in court on RICO charges and everything else, but you mean to tell me you'll believe 6 women and be glad to act on it, but 1,000+ women, y'all don't have the stomach for it? Or is it that you don't have the stomach for it, you don't have the moral conscience for it? You'd rather be concerned about whether somebody in power is allegedly going to pass some laws that's going to benefit you. Well, I want y'all to wake up before 2026 and realize there's not been one thing that has benefited regular people like you and I that Donald Trump or all of the people in power at this time have done. What did Donald Trump do that has caused your monthly expenses to go down? I'm just asking. You let this fool tell you all that I'm going to raise some tariffs. I'm going to do tariffs and I'm going to make $1 trillion. He raised the tariffs and put American businesses out of business. He raised the tariffs and put American farmers out of business. Then he says, I'm going to dedicate $1 trillion so that American, or 12 billion, whatever the number was, so that American farmers who have a need can get some type of funding. American farmers didn't need you to give them 12 billion. They needed you not to put a stupid tariff in place that would only benefit external companies and external countries. y'all voted for that clown. That's the problem. You don't use common sense. You're voting along political lines. You're voting along your emotional lines. You got these fools up here. You voted for somebody to put you in financial straits. And then there's that. You voted to bring back somebody who had been convicted of at least 4 different things. You voted to put somebody in office with 34 felony convictions. You voted to put somebody in office who had been convicted, not alleged, convicted of molesting a grown woman on a plane and in other areas. You voted to put him in there. I'm not mad about it being Republican or Democrat. I know the Republican Party had to have had somebody else, anybody else in the Republican base who had a stronger moral character than a person convicted of 34 felony counts, a person convicted of molesting a grown woman. You mean to tell me, Republicans, you didn't have one person you thought was better than that? Say it ain't so. I want to know, how do you all look at your own daughters every day? If you voted for Trump, if you're in the Senate right now, if you're in the House right now, if you are anybody who have been fighting to keep these Epstein files hidden in the dark, and I'm not talking about because at the last minute y'all voted for it because you knew you had to. I've got more respect for Marjorie Taylor Greene, as weird as she may be. At least whatever she believes in, she stand on business on it. She stands on business. Let's talk about some more things. Matter of fact, let's talk about, when I began the show, I sent a shout out for the Reiner family because the producer and actor and his wife had been heinously murdered, allegedly by their son. And what does the President of the United States put out a statement saying? President Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social platform, they reportedly died due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding affliction known as Trump deranged syndrome. Now, let me say this. I don't care, even somebody that I had a disdain for as much as Charlie Kirk. Somebody gets killed, there is a level of human decency that you should have, whether you believe that the way they lived their life was fundamentally against yours or not. There's a way that you should conduct yourself. And if you're supposed to represent America, there's an expectation we should have that this senile fool that we got up in there would have enough moral compass to not try to say something as ignorant as that. And I want you to understand the reason why it's significant. It is significant because you all don't hold him accountable for anything. Y'all allowed this fool, respectfully, to take somebody from a talk show and put them as part of the heads of the DOJ and the FBI. Y'all was more comfortable putting talk show people. Y'all may as well vote me in. I may as well run for president. I may as well run for a significant office, because if you're letting talk show people be over the DOJ and the FBI in high positions, you may as well go to the local grocery store and pick out the person who is bagging the groceries and say, look, we need you. No moral compass, no moral fibers. We out here just acting a fool. Y'all authorizing everything. Y'all supporting. This dude got y'all buying Donald Trump cryptocurrency. He taking airplanes from nations that we know ain't a friend to America. He authorized a foreign country to put up a base, a military base in Idaho. Come on now. What are we doing? Y'all don't see nothing wrong with it? He out here making side deals with Russia. Talking about he's the only one that can control Putin. Really? Putin loves the fact that he's in there. Because allegedly he got a drawer full of things to hold over his head. But y'all made that possible. You all made that possible because of your thirst to stay in power, to be able to go eat at Ruby Tuesdays and say, yes, I'm a Republican and my party is in power. At the same restaurant you can barely afford to go to now. I know some of y'all is feeling some kind of way. I don't even care. I told y'all I'm about all that smoke tonight. But let's not just talk about the foolishness of Donald Trump. Let's talk about some other foolishness. Let's talk about cultural and moral decay. The moral compass of America is deeply shaken. Not just because of the dude y'all put in office. People view themselves as too valuable to be humble. And I ain't talking about in DC. I'm talking about at your address, at your house, in your community, in your culture. Yes. People think they better than everybody. We done had at least 12 shows this year. In some cases, almost 18. And we have talked about relationships that have turned transactional. We've talked about relationships where one party or the next say, I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone asking me to pay half. While your ignorant thought right now is paying whole. How dare somebody ask to be in a relationship with me and expect me to pay 50% of my own bills? That's the state of America. That's the state of people in your local community. This is the response of some of you in your own household. Absolutely, positively out here acting the fool. Men increasingly adopting attitudes traditionally associated with women, wondering why they not respected as leaders. Well, Sinclair, we don't know what that means. You talking over our head. I'll say it. Men, you out here acting like women. You want to be respected in your home. You want to be respected in your relationships, but you out here on your extra sensitivity. We done forgot what it's like to even be men out here. Y'all around here dressing like women, acting like women, scared to make a decision, won't go get a job that affords you an opportunity to be a financial primary in your own home. She around here sunning you because she got to give you an allowance. Whatever happened to the good old days? The good old days when a man went out and worked a hard job. He ain't had to ask for no allowance. He took pride in being the breadwinner. Them days is gone. And you know why it's gone, ladies? Because of you all. If I ain't learned nothing else in 2025, I learned that it is your fault. That men are as ridiculous as some of us are because of you. And I don't know why we didn't think it was going to turn into this. Because back in the 70s and 80s, when you were selling out black men for welfare and food stamps to participate in programs that allowed some of you to receive some marginal assistance, but you could not have a man in your home, but you began raising kids without a man in the home, rearing sons in many cases who there was nobody to teach them how to be a man, to be resourceful, to plant, to grow, to work with their hands. By the 80s, you was walking around with your son trying on your shoes, and you laughed about it. You was comfortable with your son switching around the house. And it went from being around the house to being on your TV. Then it went from being on your TV to being in the internet. Then it went from being just in the internet at home to being on your cell phone. Then y'all got locked into reality shows. So there was never going to be a sense of pride in being a man and being responsible. Most of you, a man can't tell you anything in the home. Because you know how many times you have said, you can't tell me what to do. And fellas, don't get mad, you can't. The volume of single family homes in the United States is at an all-time high. And we act like we don't know why. If you go and look at the volume of relatively attractive women, in some cases fine as tomorrow, but can't get a man today. Not because they're bad people, but because they're relationship deficient. They're strong-minded, can work a good job. Many of them earn a good living. All of the characteristics that society expected of a man. Now, I'm not saying that you should have sat around and waited for a group of sorry men to get themselves together. Not by far. But you have put some of them in situations where it was impossible to be in relationships. And it ain't just in the black community. It's just as many white women out here right now searching for what they consider to be a reasonable person to be in a relationship with. And that's where we are in 2025. 2025 has us in a place where we should be, at least right now, looking in the mirror. Asking ourselves, what do we expect in 2026? What do we expect? Do we expect something better? If the answer is yes, why would you? Why do you expect that your life will be any better in 2026 if you don't have a plan of action? You'll believe anything. You'll act any kind of way. You don't have a moral compass. And I'm not knocking everybody. We've been doing this thing for all year long. You all see the same things that I see. But there is something that is happening within the minds of us as a people. Not as a black person, white person, Asian person, Latino, as a people in general. In our society today, children are diagnosed at an all-time high with behavioral disorders because they got bad attitudes and poor social skills. And the question may be to some of you, well, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, why does your child have bad social skills? Because your child sits up under you all the time. Your child doesn't do anything that requires them to have social interaction. Back in the day, little kids used to come over. You played outside. You had to use motor skills. You would climb a tree. When is the last time you saw a child go outside when they wasn't getting in a car? When is the last time you saw a child climb a tree? When is the last time that you saw anything that forced a child to be better than sitting in the house with you? I was talking to someone the other day and I thought about it. When you and I was growing up, you didn't eat dinner in the room as no child. You ate dinner at the dining room table. I don't even care if your mama or your daddy was at work. You ain't take your plate in the room and lay in the bed like you just worked a 16-hour work day. Now, mama's eating dinner in the bedroom. The child eating dinner in their bedroom. The child watching every ounce of foolishness on the internet and on TV. Mama and daddy in two different rooms. And what are they doing? Both of them talking to their side piece. So why do we expect that the social skills necessary? Y'all. They go, Esther, what's going on? Esther Shepherd, my armor bearer. They go, Annie Moore. Everybody say hello to Annie Moore. But I'm saying these things to you because I want you to get it through your head where we at. Your child doesn't have social skills. Your child doesn't know how to deal with conflict because you don't know how to deal with conflict. Your child has grown up in front of the TV, in the room, talking with some cyber friend. While you, who are relationship deficient, who have convinced yourself that you better than any person that could want to be in a relationship with you. That you as a man is sitting in the other room pretending to play a video game while you talk to your side chick. Your woman is in the other room pretending that she's on TV and talking to her girlfriend while talking to her side dude. What's going on, Mom? And I'm telling you all this because I want your 26 to be better than your 25. Your children are growing up to be reckless recluses because you don't force them to do activities that challenge them to be critical thinkers. We used to have to climb them trees. You had dexterity. If you fell out the tree, you ain't go to the hospital. You cried till the wind got back in you and you got back up in the tree. Kids used to roll around in the grass. Now because your mama thinks she too fine for you to get dirty, she see you outside, she say, get up out that grass. You might get, your mama talking about get out the grass, you might get a tick on you. You know how many ticks we got on us when we was growing up? Some of y'all got a kid ain't never had a tick on them. They might have bed mites. That's all they do is stay in the bed. Some of y'all got a son ain't never been fishing. Some of y'all got daughters. I know y'all gonna get mad. Some of y'all got daughters don't even know how to braid their own hair. Think about it. Why are they socially and morally bankrupt? Because all the stuff that you had to do, that your grandma had to do, that your mamas had to do, we substituted that. Every now and then you'll run into a young lady that know how to braid some hair. I said to somebody the other day, I remember when I was growing up, my mama used to have a dresser, and on top of her dresser, she had this thing, she had a bunch of bottles of fingernail polish. And she had something called fingernail polish remover, and it had a strong scent to it. But see, old school women used to sit down and take the fingernail polish off their own nails. Yeah, they knew how to grow their nails. They would sit down once or twice a week and take the fingernail polish off their fingers. When they took that fingernail polish off their fingers, they'll sit down like this and be painting all of them. And if they was really good with it, you'll see them do like this. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Now you go to a nail salon and you see a 10-year-old in there getting her nails done. I want to be like my mama. You got a 10-year-old getting fake nails. I remember the times when my mama would sit with them little straightening comb on the stove. And them little curlers, them little clickety, 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 I don't know what you call them. And they'll be in there with that little bottle of greenish, turquoise-ish looking grease. Pressing oil. And young girls knew how to do their own hair. And I'm willing to bet y'all for lack of a better way of thinking, I'm willing to bet y'all a Jersey Mike sub right now that you can't find 50% of the young girls that's walking around with just their regular hair. And I'm not knocking things that you accentuate yourself as a grown woman with. But I challenge you that the reason why many young women don't see themselves as beautiful being in the natural is because you all have forced them to think that the only thing that is attractive is a certain waistline, a certain length of hair, some fingernails that look like, I think they call them stiletto nails. What in the world is your teenage daughter, is your middle school daughter doing with stiletto nails? Some of y'all get mad at your alleged man if he doesn't want to pay for you to go get your nails and feet done. Think about it. You mad because he doesn't want to pay for you to go to somebody else. Matter of fact, I'm willing to bet y'all right now, 90% of the men out here, if you were to ask them, babe, give me a few dollars so I could go buy me some fingernail polish and a little remover, I bet every man I know will go in his pocket right now and get it, because that might cost him a good $20. But those of you who want your man to pay for your nails, and listen, I'm not a hypocrite, because I don't mind paying for a woman to get her nails done. But this ain't about me. So I don't want y'all, because it's probably some women sitting around right now who said back in the day or whenever I dealt with Sinclair, he paid for me to get my nails done, so he a hypocrite. No, I'm not. I'm saying your man should not be considered less than if he doesn't do it. That's all I'm saying. Many of you get mad at your man because he doesn't want to pay to get your hair done and your nails done, but you don't cook a meal. I'm just saying. This is how 2025 has been. If we want 2026 to be any better, you have to ask yourselves, what am I going to do? Not starting with what somebody else is going to do. The question is, what am I going to do different? As a man, how am I going to be different? As a woman, how is she going to be different? Because all of this looking down the road and talking about the person down the street, look in the mirror. If you want your professional life, your personal life, your spiritual life, if you want those elements to be better, ask yourself, what is the person in the mirror going to do differently in 26? Not a New Year's resolution. Most of y'all ain't gonna keep your New Year's resolution no way. But ask yourself, what am I going to do different so that what I experienced or caused in 2025 does not be the narrative of my 2026. I ain't got to judge you off what you did at your house. I need to be judging Sinclair off what he did in his. Make better choices. Live in reality. Some of you don't have any differences in what occurs in your energy. And I'm not telling you where to go and how to get there, but you all ought to have a space and time that you dedicate to each aspect of your life. You need to dedicate some time just as much to your spiritual connection to Christ as you do to your personal. If you spend 2 hours a week getting your hair done, if you spend an hour every other week getting your nails and feet done, or hands and feet, if you spend 4 hours a month working on nails and hair, and another little 30 minutes on your eyebrows or your beards, you ought to invest at least that amount of time into your faith, into your spiritual walk, because you need balance. You cannot stay balanced emotionally if you don't have some sense of spiritual purpose. Look, people, it's time for me to get up off this airway. And because of the holidays, I am certain that I'm not going to do a show. Matter of fact, I may do a show next week. I don't know. I'm planning on taking the rest of the next 2 Wednesdays off because I want to be able to enjoy a quality of life. I want to be able to marginalize the amount of time that I am dedicating to work, and for me, this is work, even though I enjoy it. So I want to marginalize that. So we may not do another show until the first Wednesday of 2026. But if something occurs that's major, I'll pop on. But I want you all to take and consider. Let me decompress for the last 2 weeks of this year. Let me put down social media as much. Let me work on my own mental refreshing, my own spiritual refreshing. Let me think about how I want to go back to work at the first of the year. Let me think about how I want to treat people. Let me examine my proverbial closet of acquaintances and see who I'm going to keep in and who I'm going to let go. Let me see what frivolous things I did in 25 and take them off the list for 26. In other words, let me do some self-actualization. Let me do some self-accountability. Let's spend the last 14 days or so of this year focusing on the person in the mirror and asking yourself, not for a New Year's resolution, but for a commitment to work on oneself in a holistic manner. Let's talk about it along the way. Look, people, I'm getting ready to get up out of here so I can make myself comfortable, as I do have to get back out here with the people in the morning. But I appreciate y'all joining me. And if I do not see you all or speak to you all between now and January the 1st, I wish you peace and blessings. And I wish you a safe holiday season. Think about what I said.
It's about that time, baby. Oh, yeah.